wonder if Benjamin Franklin's bitter. This guy's doing it better. Here's your look at McFarlane Toys. DC Multiverse, McFarlane Collector's Edition, Batman Rogues, Kite Man. After studying wind in school, Charles Brown fell into a life of crime, designing the aerodynamics of the Joker's Jokermobile, but otherwise regarded as a loser, even by his wife. He became Kite Man when the Riddler murdered his son during the War of Jokes and Riddles, adopting the identity in honor of his boy, with whom he used to fly kites. Hell yeah! You gotta believe when Charles Brown is telling the Banks family children go fly a kite, it's not really what he means. Before we check out Kite Man, of course, and his kite, we're going to bring in a tool that I use, which isn't a kite. It's my trusty tape measure. And let's see how tall the figure stands. Now, Kite Man is, for obvious reasons, using bodies that we've seen before. I'll be bringing in those bodies from before. First things first, though, Kite Man's, well, at least the tape measure is telling us that Kite Man stands, 7 inches in height, working out to be a figure that's 18 centimeters tall. The irony is not lost on me that the Riddler is responsible for his son's death, and yet, though, he's also using the same body as the Riddler. Go figure. He happens also to be using the same body as Hal Jordan's Green Lantern, and you probably can already see for yourselves how that body gets borrowed over. Let's bring in figures, though, that don't have that body. Here's what the figure looks like with Clock King, the recently looked at Deathstroke the Terminator. And why not, of course, after all, he's a Batman baddie, bring in a Batman as well. As the name would suggest, yes, Kite Man does come included with a kite. The kite does attach on the back of the figure's body. Before we do that thing over there, let's do the things that are over here. The figure first does come included with a trading card that does show Kite Man doing his thing. He's flying around literally on a human-sized kite. On the side, though, it does have McFarlane Collector's Edition. Probably looks a little bit easier to see if I have it held to the light. On the back, though, of the card, his real name is Charles Brown. A small enough read that I'm sure you could even pause and read it for yourself right now and still be able to make your appointments, meet your meetings with your friends. But I've already beaten you to it. I've taken the liberty of reading it already for you. No. It's the least I can do. No, please. Please, not all heroes wear capes. Stop that. Here's Kite Man's card. We're going to move it off to the side. We're going to be moving this shortly over as well. The figure does come included with a circular black display stand. Wait, what? Yeah, you're right. It is the same stand as what we've already gotten before. In fact, as an example, I'm going to bring in also Deathstroke Terminator's display stand. Now, these are, again, exactly the same. Do I have one that's not the same? No, I don't. Do I? I should probably have a good stack of these. I do. There it is right there. One of the original DC logoed stands. Really hard to really make out the DC logo down below, whether it's been branded there or not. Now the new logos are all in silver, larger symbols also as well. Again, I like the look of the symbols. I don't like the placement of the card. Here it goes again, talk about the blasted cards, blasted stands. I don't like where they've actually branded this. I feel really, again, they could have turned the steering wheel slightly and kept the peg up to the top corner. This is my own personal opinion. My personal opinion is that the figure doesn't really have much in the way of accessories. Guns, those kind of things you're really not going to find here with Kite Man. You know, considering really that he is a criminal, and we really yet to get this with a McFarlane Toys release, I would love just them to release like just a criminal accessory set. Something that kind of contains just a stack of money, a safe, bags of money with dollar signs, even put 2 lines through it if you really want. Who else would be all down for the idea of just figure-sized, scaled down criminal accessories? Diamonds, jewels, bags of money with dollar signs all over it. I would certainly love to see that. The reason why I say all that is the figure does have, well, on the ends of his forearms right now, he has a relaxed hand. He also has a thumbs up hand, which is kind of cool as well. But the why I say, though, he doesn't really have any other accessories other than really his kite, is that he does also have, theoretically, trigger-firing finger hands, or ideally suited hands for holding big bags of money. Come on, big bags of money. We gotta see that happening. These hands can, again, be swapped out. You just milk the cow, you pop the hands off the ends of the forearms and swap them out with these gripping hands. Or perhaps entertain the idea. The figure does also come included with a bunch of closed fists. Move those off to the side. As I did already say, though, the figure does have a dynamic hand on one side. bend that just a bit. And he also has a thumbs up hand. I think that's kind of cool, the fact that the figure does have a thumbs up hand, which again, I know we've seen before. I can't even think what figure would have had a thumbs up hand. I can't imagine that this is the first time we are seeing this. First time, though, that we are seeing a Kite Man. First time that we're actually seeing this head sculpt. First time that we're also seeing a big giant cape. A big giant kite. I'm so used to saying capes. How this is so effectively pulled off is just essentially because you're using a same body mold as like a Riddler or a Hal Jordan. Cost producing this figure from scratch, I mean, right away you're scratching off the initial molding of this. You basically only really have to retool the figure. Some, of course, new things have been added to Kite Man that weren't already on Riddler, for example. Right down to actually the fact of his boots. You'll see as well, it has the sculpting of the line on the top. Hal Jordan's also had the same. Other than that, though, it's the exact same body, so that's why we can get more of the obscure characters like Kite Man, because again, there's very little tooling that's required. You don't have to do it from the ground up. What's newly tooled here, though, on Kite Man is a brand new head sculpt. Now, I like the head. I was kind of tossed around the idea, like, which would I have really preferred? And for my argument here, I would have brought back in the card just to show you guys. Kite Man, depending on where you pull him from the pages, tends to sometimes use see-through goggles. This Kite Man doesn't have that. However, though, if you really want to have this guy displayed with other, like, Silver Age characters, like Deathstroke, for example, I think perhaps the colored goggles work better than translucent plastic. Because the moment you use translucent plastic, as the example I'm going to be throwing out there is like Blue Beetle. Classic Blue Beetle works better, I feel, by painting the lenses and not using translucent plastic. Because I don't really necessarily need to see his eyes. I kind of really feel the same way about Kite Man. Where, though, I do feel the head sculpt could have been better improved had they given him a smirk, or a smile, or something just to indicate that this guy thinks he is the you-know-what. The goggles look okay. They, unfortunately, though, getting them out of packaging they have highlights and a little bit of shadowing, I suppose that's supposed to be there, but actually it ends up looking like the goggles got scratched. I know they're not really supposed to be the case, but it does certainly look like, with the way that they've painted it at least, that there's more of a paint problem than a paint intentionally done. The Kite Man logo is, as you can see there on the front of his chest. I mean, this isn't sculpted necessarily, so this is so super easy just to tempograph that across the front of his torso. He also has the Kite logo there on the head. Now, because the head has to be a brand new head, it's so easy for them just to sculpt this as a new piece because they're not likely going to be using this Kite Man head again. Where he also gets something brand new, too, is he gets himself his Kite Pack. Now, the Kite Pack really is just one piece. It clamps over his existing body, so at any given point you can remove it. And the more you remove then from Kite Man, the more and more he resembles both Riddler and Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan, again, I keep talking about him. Here's Hal Jordan right here. Again, same body, nothing different really at all between the two. Obviously, it's just the paint that changes between the two characters. Kite Man's pack. Let's talk a little bit about that, shall we? I'll put the figure down here just for a second. Kite Man's pack consists of really two parts. You got the main pack that obviously clips over top of his torso. This obviously goes over top of his shoulders. This goes around his waist. There's not really much in the way of paint. It only really relied on the plastic alone. It has two essential parts to it. It's got the pack that, well, it's got this little piece right here that clips onto the back. And it's supposed to look like the backpack is finished, and it hasn't yet opened up, because the idea is the backpack opens up, and of course that forms the kite. It has two parts. The problem with it, though, is that this part, as you can see, has a designated shape. It's not that you can put it any other way than the shape that's telling you, so it has to plug in like this. I have noticed this is extremely tight, to the point, though, pushing this all the way in. I did this once, and it only took once. I plugged it in once, and I had the hardest time prying this back off. Even with the lip that I've given this, it's hard to remove it. I wouldn't necessarily push the idea of pushing this all the way in, because if you push it all the way in, it might make the pack look more complete, but you're going to have a hard time trying to remove it. So again, this just detaches. Again, if you want to have the figure displayed, likely people are probably going to be picking up Kite Man with the intended plan of displaying him, obviously, with his kite. The kite essentially just plugs onto the back the exact same way. The coloring really isn't matching all that much. I would have really liked, maybe not as dark of a green here, maybe not as light of a green as the plastic here, but meeting somewhere in the middle. Because I feel like when you put it on the figure, I think the plastic coloring of the kite is too dark. Again, just my personal opinion. The kite itself is, again, a fairly thin bit of plastic. It's that kind of plastic that if you bent it, it would snap. Does that make any sense? I'm obviously not going to do it for the purpose of showing you guys, but it's that kind of plastic. It's not a bad plastic at all, but it is that type, though, that if you were to bend it, it would snap the plastic. It wouldn't bend it. The Kite Man kite, though, all we basically, again, have to do is just put this over top of his torso. So we'll fit this first around his waist, and then just snap that around the top. I mean, it stays secure enough. I mean, it is obviously going to move around a little bit on you. But I guess it's done that way so that the figure doesn't have to be sculpted with the kite pack on the back of his body. Take, of course, your kite. The kite snaps just on the back here. Now, one thing that's actually different, though, is where's the pack? You'll notice with this one, it's solid plastic. With this one, actually, you can see there's a little lip of plastic right here. I don't know if they've done that intentionally so that it makes things easier to remove the kite. Or, again, like it might be more that once you push this all the way in, you're going to have, again, a harder time to remove this. But it looks okay. I mean, obviously, for him to be Kite Man without the kite, he would certainly feel incomplete. The one thing, though, I mean, when you see him, though, in comics, especially, again, we're even referencing the card, Kite Man tends to also have a harness piece, which it's not that the cape always, the cape, not the kite. The kite usually is not attached right to the back of his body. There tends to be usually a harness, depending, again, your source material. Originally, Kite Man usually just literally flew with straps down from a giant kite. But this one doesn't have that. I mean, it gives you at least the frame of it, but it doesn't have the harness. So, you know, if you're looking for that necessarily, you're going to be a little disappointed. I can understand certainly why they chose not to include the harness. Those would really be thin bits of plastic, whether they use soft plastic or not. And again, that would be a lot of additional tooling. I think really Todd saw this figure as an opportunity to make, again, a use of a mold that they already have in their repertoire, without really having to spend a whole lot more to give us an obscure character like that. So the fact that he doesn't really have the harness, it's a little disappointing, but at least in the end, he's got himself a very large kite. But the figure's articulation, I don't know whether we should really keep the kite on him or not. We'll try. The head's going to be on a ball joint, so it allows the head for Kite Man to rotate all the way around. The head can look up and down, and you can, of course, move it back and forth as well. The arms normally, in theory, would rotate all the way around. Unfortunately, yeah, you're going to be hitting. Hello, who's there? You're going to be rotating this and banging the back of the kite. So, again, you're going to just kind of want to move around that. Arms hinge out. I did notice, though, that Kite Man's arms are a tad on the loose side. It makes some sense, obviously, because they've used the mold several times already. But I think maybe some mold degradation, because, again, like I've noticed, like the joints on some of these figures have started to develop looseness so quickly after getting these guys out of their plastic prison. Kite Man's arms do have a bicep swivel. They also do possess a double hinge on the elbow. Look at this guy. Yeah! And, of course, his hands, whatever hands you want to use for Kite Man, do swivel all the way around with a hinge back and forth. Upper torso is going to be on a ball joint. Luckily, though, even though the straps do kind of get in the way of things, being that they're not permanently there, you can easily move them out of the way to still gain access to his articulation. Further from that, down in the abdomen area, the figure does also have a ball joint there as well. Kite Man's legs do split, nice ratcheted joints working behind the scenes. Swivel at the top of the thigh. Figure does have a double hinge on the knee. No articulation here for the boot. This isn't new. The articulation on Riddler wasn't even there in the first place. Hal Jordan never had it, or any of the subsequent releases using this mold have never had any articulation in this boot. So you're not really necessarily being robbed. You're just not getting it. The articulation, though, on the ankle is there. There is certainly the ankle rocker. And Kite Man does have toe articulation as well. A good-looking figure. One of a figure that obviously would have not ever made production at all had he not already been released as this guy, and if he had also not been released as this guy here. Now, again, I know there's been other versions using this body and this build, but again, I like the look of Kite Man. He's an obscure, he's a deep-cut character. He's one of those, again, characters that work really well with like the likes of Clock King. Clock King, for me, I just love the obscure characters. The more, the many. The many, the more. Even better, having more. And again, because they're using, again, the exact same molds, allows opportunities for McFarlane Toys to venture into waters that normally collectors would think, do we really necessarily need a Kite Man? But because, again, like these figures already exist, the answer is yes. Yes, we do need a Kite Man. And Kite Man turned out pretty good. He doesn't have any accessories. He doesn't have, again, the big bag of money. We need a big bag of money. A little criminal pack. Shaking frantically. Other than that, though, not having, though, the accessories, you can certainly see that some of the budget, most of the budget, went into the production of the kite that goes on the back of his body, the harness, of course, to hold the kite, and a brand new head sculpt that wasn't in the cases of the other two on either side of him. I know it's kind of cheating considering the figure never had it, but the fact that he's known as Kite Man means this guy should always be airborne, and not including a flight stand, even though I know a lot of the budget went into the kite, the back of his body, the harness piece, and the new head sculpt. They couldn't have put in then a flight stand. If you happen to have a flight stand, which I so happen to have, it's definitely going to be used when it comes to displaying Kite Man. Speaking of borrowing things over, thumbs down hand. It's bad news for Gotham City below. That thumbs up hand actually was also borrowed over from Riddler. So the irony continues to astound me. The man responsible for killing Kite Man's son also happens to be the same guy that pretty much gives him all the same body parts that he gets used here. What budget we do get spent, what McFarlane Toys did spend for the budget, was obviously the large-sized kite, which it's a good size. He gets the harness to hold the kite. He gets also a replacement piece. Just be careful, though, as you saw in this review, if you put the kite piece completely in to finish the back of the pack, you're going to have a real hard time getting that piece back off. Is Kite Man a successful figure based on the fact that, yeah, for budget, they had to spend a whole lot less on him? I think he's good. I think he could have granted you some additional accessories, but with how much plastic went into that kite, I can't really fault the fact that he didn't have anything more than what he came out of the packaging with. If you guys are interested, I actually found this on the Facebook selling group. He seems to be making the rounds right now, whether it be in brick and mortar stores or online, or if you can't find any, if you have no luck finding them in either of those places, Facebook selling group seems to be the good place to be finding these. And of course, I did actually grab this from Popeye the Toy Man. Yeah, you guys can certainly check his link or check out his selling page by clicking the link down below in the video description. What do you guys think of Kite Man? Let me know down below in the comment section. Do you guys also like the idea that parts get reused from other figures, so at least we do get these deep cut, more obscure villains? I'd say more the merrier. If you guys did enjoy this video, you can do it a solid and throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. Hit that subscribe. Yeah, turn on that bell to get the reminders from YouTube every single time a new video posts. And I do hope, though, that you guys are going to be coming back for more videos. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.